Hey family, how you doing? Welcome again to another video. And as always, thank you so much for tuning in. Really appreciate you guys. And if you haven't subscribed yet, give that a check that out. You know, we try to upload content here on a regular basis. Sometimes I take a break here and there because we're just so busy on this end, you know, but when I do get an opportunity, I love jumping behind the mic here and just chatting a little bit about a little bit of this and that or whatever. And so anyway, if you haven't checked out our broadcast that we just did, the Somber Tree broadcast where we were in the kitchen, me and my beautiful wife, make sure you check that out, man. There's a lot of great information in there. One of the things that I'm gonna upload a video on that. I'm not going to even get into that right now. But anyway, make sure you check that out. But anyway, and also check out the front page of our YouTube page. In fact, I should bring that up right now because I'm constantly looking to, okay, how can I clean some of this stuff up? I mean, we have come out with hundreds of videos, man, you know, just over the years. And I've gone through clean some videos out, and there's other videos I've kept, and you know I'm going to be going through next and adding new thumbnails and all this other stuff. So there's quite a bit of changes that's going to be taking place over time, over a short period of time here. But anyway, so here's our page here. So what I did was, you got the For You section here, and that's like a random kind of playlist that comes up here. Then I have the past live streams. So if you like our live streams, we have that. Here's our shorts. I got some more shorts already lined up. We're going to be putting that up there. I'm also going to be adding some more, some podcasts as well. So just stay tuned for that. I haven't done that in a while. This section here is our Leaving the Hebrew Matrix. And this one is just talking about how when, you know, my wife and I, our family, when we were in the Hebrew space, and, you know, we have documented all of that. And I've had some people come to me and say, well, you know, one day you're talking about this and the next day you're talking about this. You ain't telling anybody anything. And I'm like, I can clearly see that you haven't been here in a moment. So here's a section here that basically it tracks just many of the videos where we have documented every step. So there you go right there. And then, of course, we have a section called Somber Tree Health. And then I'll be breaking it down some more with other sections as well to make it a little bit easier for you to kind of find some of the videos, the many videos, you know, that we've done over the years. OK, so anyway, just wanted to let you know about that. And so let's get right into it. Today, we're just going to chat about, I've been following this story. It's one of those stories, even though I had a lot of things going on, is one of these stories that I've been kind of tracking in the back of my mind. And it's a story about Dr. Claudine Gay. And Dr. Claudine Gay, she is now the former Harvard president. Gotta say that right. Former Harvard president. And the reason why I now say former, if you don't realize by now, she resigned. Well, why did she resign? Well, I think it's tied to a number of things here, and that's what we're going to chat about just for a few moments here, because it's not just her. This is a whole pattern, and I like doing videos like this because I want to make sure that our people do not overlook these patterns. I mean, this is yet another installment in the pattern. So let's just hit it and let's get right to it, okay? So backstory about Dr. Claudine Gay is that basically this is a woman whose career has definitely been heavily seasoned by liberal ideology, you know, and they're just everything left. Okay. If you're talking about Harvard University, you know what's there. Harvard University is kind of like the base, if you will, of liberal ideology. There's all types of schools, if you will, that were birthed out of that, you know, ideologies, political ideologies and stuff that were birthed off of that campus. And so it's really a launching pad for a lot of things that we see, not just in DC, but also on the streets and how people think and all of that stuff. Right. And so Harvard University is definitely a very, very powerful institution especially when it comes to pushing leftist or liberal ideologies. And so, you know, in making a statement and wanting to make a statement that they're tolerant, or not just tolerant, but they're inclusive of everybody. They recently said, hey, listen, we want to elect or appoint a black woman to be the president of this school. And that they did. So this is a woman that they have seasoned and trained and massaged and said, okay, you got all of our programming. Now you go ahead and sit in the seat. Now, keep in mind, we're still in control here, but just know, okay, we're giving you the seat. So she took it, right? So she was there. She's living her moment. And then all of a sudden, the whole war between Israel and the people of Palestine, the Palestinian people, that erupted. Now, Harvard University is like a lot of these other colleges and universities. They tolerate pretty much any kind of protest and all that kind of stuff. I mean, as long as you're not destroying property and stuff like that. I mean, you can have student groups that are pro this or that, LGBT and all this. They don't care as long as one isn't infringing on the rights of the others. They tend to be pretty tolerant. They try to be, that's what they pride themselves as, being a tolerant people. I'm talking about people on the left or liberals, right? Well, that comes with an asterisk. And so, because there's one group of people, and I think you know who I'm talking about, that under no circumstance can you allow yourself to criticize them, no matter what. No matter what you may believe, no matter what you may think, you are not permitted to criticize this one group of people, right? And I think you know who I'm talking about. Well, she got her wake-up call. Dr. Gay, she got her wake-up call. Because what was happening was this liberal school, just like they always do, you had people who were pro-Israel, then you had people who were anti-Israel, or pro-Palestinian people. It's just what it is, right? And that's all over, and I was, and if you were really honest about it, it's really interesting. This whole wedge thing was really a very forced thing. It was very forced, because what we were seeing from mainstream media and all that was 100%, you got to support Israel. And if you don't support Israel, then you are Satan himself. You are Adolf Hitler, if you don't support Israel. I mean, that's just what it was. But if you went on Twitter and various other social media platforms, the story looked a lot different. A lot of people were not necessarily riding with Israel. You know what I'm saying? And of course so that's how that played out. At least that's what I observed. And so with Dr. Gay, they said, well, wait a minute now. I know we taught you how to be tolerant and all that, but you cannot allow under any circumstance any kind of criticism towards this group of people. And so, to her credit, she was like, well, I might even agree with you that, hey, listen, I'm Team Israel, but I also have to stick to what I personally believe in, and that is being consistent. I got to be consistent in what I'm saying. If I am the president of the school, I got to be consistent. I can't show biases when it comes to what people's ideologies are. I can't do that. I have to be consistent. I may not agree with some of these people, but that's besides the point. I have to make sure that I am stewarding to the best of my ability a place where all ideals are welcomed. Everybody may not agree with everybody, but that's what makes this into a university, right? And so anyway, well, that wasn't good enough. And so what we saw was the whole liberal front turn their back on this woman, and they said, no, you still ain't getting it. You still ain't getting the memo. So she got called down to Washington, D.C. and had to give an account for not taking a side on this conflict between Israel and the Palestinian people, and condemning those on that campus for their questioning or disagreeing with Israel. So she had to give an account for that. And people were just they were laying in on her. Ooh, they were laying in on her. And like I said, to her credit, she was being consistent in what she believed. And that is, like I said, being tolerant. Because she even said that in her whole her speech or whatever that she gave. She said, hey, listen, I may not agree with these people, but I have to be consistent. And they didn't like that. And so you had people near and far throwing her under the bus. And so they didn't like it. And so then later on, it wasn't too many days after her visit to in Washington, all of a sudden there was a story that came out that said that she plagiarized one of her papers when she was a student. Now, this is where it gets a little funny to me. Now it really gets comical to me. It's one thing if I'm interviewing for a small company and maybe certain things they miss, right? But this woman was interviewing to be the president of Howard. I keep trying to say Howard. She's going to be at Howard in a moment. Harvard University. Harvard University. You telling me that nobody knew that she allegedly plagiarized a paper back in the day? Nobody knew that at all. Nobody. But all of a sudden, here it comes. And like I was saying to myself just not too long ago, I said, I hope our sisters out here, our six-figure sisters out here who think that you are just it because you are just, you got your money, you're in the corner office and all that stuff. But remember who built those offices. Remember who's in control of those offices. Remember the people who signed your check. They got old crates on you and they will pull it out in a second if they need to. Trust and know. So anyway, that's what they did. They went to the crates and they said, we found this. You did this. And so to the credit of the Harvard University board, they said, okay, well, whatever. And they still stood by her. They said, we see what's happening or whatever. Well, then fast forward, that wasn't enough. And they were still, I mean, they from when I was, different stories I was reading, there were threats that were being levied to it. Someone, these groups, I'm talking about these pro-Israel groups, were literally hiring trucks that had like the lights on it and all that, was driving throughout campus, basically calling for this woman to be fired. This is how aggressive they were going after her, simply because she was practicing consistency and quote unquote tolerance. This is how hard they were going in on this black woman, because she wasn't picking sides on this. It's crazy. And so if that wasn't bad enough, then what happens? Then all of a sudden they said, well, we found one, but now we found some more papers where you were, you plagiarized these as well. And so that, of course, the board said, hey, listen, this is getting too much. And then on top of that, you had the top donors of this school, most of them happen to be Jewish, said, we're pulling all of our money out. I am not donating any more money to this school as long as this black woman is in this position. We're not donating any more money up in here. Yeah, again, so you want to know who controls? Those you can never question. I mean, what else can I say? Anyway. So yeah, so that's what they did. They found some more things and they got her up out of there. And so she basically had to resign, and I think that was probably at that point the right thing to do, because now you are putting everything on you when it's really about the students and all of that. So given the circumstances, I probably would have, that's the right thing to do, I think, at a certain point. But yeah, and even in her farewell letter or whatever like that, they're blasting her on that. They say, well, she wasn't humble enough. It's all the things I could say, but I ain't going to say it on this platform. Anyway, I'll get to it, but I am going to say some of it as we go on here. But it's not just her, because see, what I want, the goal of this video is I want people to see that it's not just her story. there are other stories that are tied to this. We're going to go down memory lane very quickly here, and you're going to see a string that's connecting all of these stories. That's why if you notice the thumbnail on this video, I superimposed her face with some other faces as well that had to learn this same lesson, such as Kyrie Irving. Now, you remember Kyrie Irving? The same thing with him. All he did was posted a link to a video, a documentary, that questioned this whole narrative of who's who and who ain't. And you saw the hell that they drugged this man through. I mean, you have black people, you have white people, all people from all over that was going in on him simply because he posted a link. And then finally they made him apologize, which he did. And then they told him he's going to have to donate millions of dollars to their organization of their choice. And then he had to sit down for a lesson by one of their teachers, right? This is all connected. Same people, right? So it's not just him. How about Nick Cannon? Oh yeah, Nick Cannon, remember him? He was going through his blackety black stage. Remember all of that? And then all of a sudden he had Professor Griff on his show. And then what happened? They took everything from him. They shut everything down. His show Wild and Out, they said, we're canceling it. I think they actually did us a favor by canceling it. And but again, who am I? They canceled it. But then he had to bow very low. And then he bowed so low, his own mother was like, well, wait a minute now. I just happened to go through our DNA and I just happened to find out that I think one of your great grandfathers was a Sephardic Jew. So if he was a Sephardic Jew, I guess that makes you a Sephardic. So Nick Cannon now started embracing this whole I'm a Jew, by blood stuff as well. So, he tried to come through that way. Well, they gave him his show back. And not only that, now he's putting out this kind of foolishness. This Wild and Out. He's connected with this. It's a production company called Zeus. And it's a black-owned production company. And he's putting out this stuff here, like you can kind of see on the screen here. I know it's all over the place here. He's doing this thing called Bad versus Wild, dark skin versus light skin. This is one of the many shows and stuff that he's posting out here. And then he got chocolate goddesses versus caramel goddesses and all this stuff. The things that kind of uplift the race, that kind of stuff. That's what he's putting out here. So what they did was they took this man and they turned him all the way out, literally turned him all the way out to serve as a reminder. Listen, we're going to take you back, boy, back to where you were hundreds of years ago. You know what I'm saying? So anyway, let's keep on moving. And then, of course, you got, Nick Cannon. Wow. You got Kanye West. That was another story. Remember Kanye West, that whole situation? He just apologized again. This time he apologized in Hebrew. He said, I'm sorry for what I said and all this stuff. I'm sorry, I shouldn't have said this and all that. They done took all this kind of stuff, took monies and all this, took all this stuff away from him. He still got a little money somewhere. I mean, he's still going around, trouncing around Europe with his naked wife, that he has going on. Again, the man needs medical help, and they're taking full advantage of him and just where he is psychologically. And he's already done said it. He's already talked about it. He's very open about it. But again, if you dare question, you see what happens. And then here's another example. And there's many examples I can give you, but here's another example. You remember, get ready to say Earth, Wind, and Fire. Wow. Public Enemy. Now, Public Enemy, when they were coming up, when Public Enemy was out, this was a militant black rap group. It wasn't this crap that you see out here today. This stuff here, when you would hear their song, when you would hear their music, it was something about their music that called black folks to attention. We were ready to get down. We were ready to be about business when we would hear Public Enemy playing. It was about business. I mean, it was transformative music. It was real transformative music, not this other mess that you hear out here. It was transformative music that called black people to attention. And it was about truth. That's what it was. At least that's what I thought it was. But then all of a sudden, you have Professor Griff on there. Because Professor Griff is still out here. He still be telling the truth on stuff. And anyway, he said some things about them folks. And then what happened? They went to Chuck D and then they said, okay, either you get rid of him or you don't have no group and you have no career. So what did Chuck D do? Kicked his behind out. That's what he did. You really thought they were going to stand? Nah, man, they kicked his behind out. Next thing I know, Public Enemy now, they were doing rock music. That's how far they done got. So I'm serious. They did Fight the Power, but they mix it with like some rock group or something. I was like, what the heck is this? Anyway, so yeah, it was crazy. And so anyway, I'm just going to read a little bit of the article. It says, and this was written back in 1989. It says, the leader of the militant black rap group Public Enemy apologized. Can you imagine this? Public Enemy apologizing for anything. Apologized Wednesday for the now ousted band members' remark that all Jews were wicked, saying we don't stand for hatred. Sorry. And then he goes on to say, this is Chuck D. He says, our job is not to offend anybody. Wait a minute. The name of your freaking group is called Public Enemy, but your job is not to offend anybody? There's that asterisk again. That means everybody but. That's what that meant. He says, our job is not to offend anybody, rapper Chuck D said, explaining Public Enemy's decision Tuesday to fire its Minister of Information, Richard Professor Griffin. And the article goes on there. So anyway, so that's it. I just wanted to kind of take you through and show you how this story regarding Claudine Gay, she's just yet another example out here of people who, you know, there's a certain line you cannot cross. There's a certain people you cannot talk about. As much as they may say, oh, don't say that. No, we're just like everybody else. No, you're not. No, you're not. But where does that leave us? Because I don't want to just leave off there and keep it moving. Where does that leave us? Well, this is what the takeaway should be with this video. You always stand for truth. Don't look at these stars. Don't look at these people who had to bow down. You don't bow down. How about that? You stand for truth. You can be very respectful. And when you're talking about, when you're giving truth, you can be respectful. You don't have to yell at anybody. I'll close out with this. Twitter. I'm on Twitter. I hate Twitter. I'm hating it more and more because it just seems like it's just full of more and more people who just really need some psychiatric help. I'm serious. But it was about, I think it was when the Kyrie Irving stuff was popping off. And we also did a video on how Israel has teams of folks that are all on these platforms, and all they do all day is look for people who are saying things that they believe is offensive. That's how organized these people are. So anyway, but that's what they're doing. And I think I had an encounter with one of these people with the story I'm about to tell you. Anyway, so I came across somebody, and they was trying to push this whole narrative about how we marched with you guys, we went through the same oppression that you went through, and all this other stuff, right? And then I brought up, because when I'm talking to those people, I have to bring receipts. You understand what I'm saying? I can't just be yelling and screaming and calling names. I don't do that. I got to bring receipts. I got to bring the receipts. Okay. And that's what I did. And the receipts that I brought were things that they wrote. It wasn't my stuff. It was things that they wrote. It was their history. It was things that can easily be, you got links and you go right to it. So I talked about everything from, the slumlord situation that has been historically a part of cities like New York, Baltimore, Philadelphia, Chicago, all these places here, and who tends to be those slumlords. I talked about that. I also talked about redlining, and I went through a whole bunch of things. I went even through, slavery, the transatlantic slave trade. I talked about, who were the benefactors when it came to the cotton industry and all that stuff. I went through all of that, and all the information that I was pulling was from their sources. See, I gotta go receipt. I got to be hard receipt when I deal with them, because that way they can't come back and say I'm lying. You know what I mean? And so that's what I did. And this person that I was interacting with, they couldn't take it. It was like seconds, within seconds after my last tweet response to this individual, they shut down my entire my entire profile entirely. It was done. I couldn't get it back. I tried to appeal it. They say, yeah, whatever. But see, here's the thing, because what it showed me is he couldn't hang. So he had to push the red button and say, get him out of here, you know? And so my point is this, not just dealing with these people, because we can talk about that. I mean, there's plenty of videos where people talk about, you know, like as if this is your primary enemy in the world. They're not. Okay, let me be clear with that. They're not your primary enemy. You understand what I'm saying? Because I talk on this platform a great deal talking about the primary people that we have to deal with right now is other black folks. I say that all the time. So before you start trying to launch a whole attack on some other people, we got to deal with our own people first, right? I always say that. But what I have learned through the years is that regardless, you must be an individual that stands on truth, period. You got to stand on truth. And if you can't just claim it, you can't just say, I'm in the truth. You have to be one that stands on absolute truth, unadulterated truth, no matter what. Because there's a lot of players in this game, and there's going to be people out there that got a lot of power that will try everything to try to shut you down or whatever. But you got to know what you're talking about. You understand what I'm saying? You cannot be yelling. You can't be screaming. You got to come sourced, and you got to come with a knowing of what you believe in. You can't just be repeating stuff that other people have told you. Do you understand what I'm saying? Because a lot of our people do that. Well, check out this video. It'll tell you everything. No, nobody ain't time a lot of times to watch a video. But you got to come with your own receipts so that you can open and close the case, period. Do you understand what I'm saying? So you got to be that person. So let 2024 be the year of you as an individual, you moving from just being a watcher and a listener to being someone who is intentionally making sure your information house is in order, so that you're not just a person repeating stuff, but you're a person that is standing on truth. And when truth is truly inside of you, and no man can take you down. Oh, they may be able to take this and that or whatever, but they will never be able to destroy you. They will never be able to destroy your character. You understand what I'm saying? So family, that's all I have for you today. Thank you so much for tuning in to this video. You guys take care, and I'll see you next time. Take care.